Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And I never thought I would be saying this publicly, because I'm a very proud Australian, and I'm very proud of the legacy of our main airline called Qantas. Yeah, Qantas. But right now, I have only one message for you guys. If you're ever traveling to Australia or you're traveling from Australia internationally, boycott Qantas. They are trying to force the COVID vaccine into our bodies. That's the only way they'll take you. But there is an airline in the Middle East called Emirates that you can fly on without having to have the vaccine. So my message to everybody who subscribes to my channel, I used to travel a lot internationally a few years ago, but my message is that travel with airlines that do not force you to have a vaccine before you can actually fly on them. Boycott them. Have nothing to do with them. Just ignore them. We've got to put financial pressure on these airlines that are trying to force the New World Order down our throats. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about here. Australia's flag carrier, used to be flag carrier, now it's just a second-run wannabe. Qantas is looking to resume flights to and from South Africa from the 1st of July 2021. But that may make no difference for South Africans who do not receive a coronavirus vaccine by then. Qantas officially halted the South African flights in November 2020 and announced the closure of its international ticket offices until at least October 2021. The airline's previously bleak outlook has now abated somewhat due to advancements in the production and distribution of coronavirus vaccines. Now, let me just tell you something, guys. The Australian taxpayers have bailed out Qantas to the amount of billions of dollars, and now they're trying to force Australians and people from other countries to have this vaccine, otherwise they won't be able to fly on their planes. Anyway, let's continue. The airline said in a statement on the 5th of January 2021, Qantas has aligned the selling of our international services to reflect our expectations that international travel will begin to restart from July 2021. Qantas is one of the largest international fleets in the world and is a popular carrier among South Africans, with the 14-hour non-stop flights between Johannesburg and Sydney connecting expatriates with family and friends. Prior to the pandemic and associated travel restrictions, Qantas offered 6 direct flights a week between South Africa and Australia. Qantas's dismal performance during the 2019-2020 financial year, which was compounded by a host of travel restrictions, saw the Australian carrier post a 22 billion rand loss. That's about a 2 billion Australian dollar loss. The worst financial result in a century saw it cut 6,000 jobs as part of its cost reduction strategy. But with the COVID-19 vaccine's international arrival, CEO Alan Joyce, who's a complete and utter doos, by the way, has expressed a hint of optimism regarding Qantas's future flight plans. In August 2020, Joyce commented that until a vaccine was ready available to all citizens, international travel would remain in a state of limbo. Well, I'm just putting Alan Joyce on notice right now that I am going to be telling my very large subscriber base to boycott Qantas, because you have no right to put conditions of people having to have a vaccine in their arm that's going to mess with them. Your job is to fly someone from point A to point B, not to start pushing around with what they should do medically. You are way out of line, and nobody should fly Qantas. Joyce said, yes, we're going to change our terms and conditions to say to international travellers, we will ask people to have a vaccination before they can get onto the aircraft. Will we need that domestically? We'll need to see what happens with COVID-19, but certainly for international visitors and people leaving the country, we think that vaccine is a necessity. Joyce's comments regarding mandatory vaccination for travel purposes, a point which was recently echoed by the US top COVID-19 advisor, Anthony Fauci, why are we surprised, and Sani Aluyi of Nigeria's Presidential Task Force, or PTF, have been met with mixed reactions. Despite fierce criticism, Joyce reiterated the airline's stance on mandatory vaccinations in December, when he said, I acknowledge that some people are opposed to vaccines in principle. We respect that. But in return, we ask everyone who travels on Qantas and Jetstar to respect our safety protocols, which will include a COVID-19 vaccine for international flights. Well, I, for one, am not going to fly Qantas on that basis. Forget it. You just lost one customer. But I don't think I'm the only one. Anyway, let's continue. Joyce added that a recent survey conducted by Qantas found that 87% of respondents would gladly accept the COVID-19 vaccine if it were a requirement to travel internationally. Now, that's BS. That's all I can say to that. Joyce's firm stance follows similar remarks made by Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who said the vaccines would be as mandatory as you can possibly make it. Well, that's going against my human rights, Scott Morrison, and you are out of here. I'm not going to vote for the Liberal Party again, ever, 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 when you start threatening me like that. Morrison, unlike Joyce, quickly backtracked following public criticism and assured Australians that the COVID-19 jab would not be mandatory. Yeah. You probably just ducked a missile that was heading to blow you right out the water, Morrison. Since then, Morrison has adopted a far more hesitant approach to the administration of COVID-19 vaccinations in Australia, citing problems with the UK's emergency rollout. He said Australia is not an emergency situation like the United Kingdom, so we don't have to cut corners. We don't have to take unnecessary risks. Do you get that? This is the Australian Prime Minister saying we don't have to cut corners. We don't have to take unnecessary risks, and I'll add to that, by having the vaccine. That says a lot about how dangerous this vaccine is. But for South Africans hoping to jump on the first Qantas flight to visit friends or family in Australia, delays in the acquisition of COVID-19 vaccines are likely to put the brakes on those travel plans. No, they're not. You just fly Emirates. They're not demanding you have a vaccine. Boycott Qantas, fly Emirates. So simple. Ordinary South Africans are only expected to get their jab sometime near the end of the second quarter of 2021 at the earliest, with a target of reaching 67% of the population by the end of the year. Well, guys, you know my views on this vaccine. I'm not going to put them up here because guess what YouTube will do? Bang! Community strike! What a bunch of losers. Alright guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.